Hello and welcome to Morningstar. Electric vehicles are the future, but we are not there yet. To discuss what lies ahead of us within the electromobility sector, as well as the investment opportunities, today I'm joined by Wendy Chen, Investment Manager, Disruptive Growth at GAM Investments. So, Wendy, the mass adoption of electric vehicles is slowly becoming a reality, and this is especially true in China. Can you describe the current state of the Chinese e-mobility industry?
Definitely. Thanks very much, Valerio, for the kind invitation and introduction. Well said that the rapid penetration of electric vehicle has been mind-blowing for even the most conservative mind. Not only have it been promoted by policymaker to reduce fuel dependence as well as to reduce emission, also consumer embrace electric vehicle due to its lower fuel costs and as well as an improved digital experience. And in this process, China has definitely emerged as a global leader, both in terms of manufacturing as well as consuming electric vehicle. In 2022, about 60% of global EV sold was made in mainland China with more than 100% year-on-year growth. Then that actually is already after 10-time expansion of sales in China over the past 5 years. So it all makes China the largest and the fastest growing global EV market. And not only has the growth been is ending there yet, as we're seeing the EV penetration in China right now is only around 30%, but we're expecting half of the new autos sold every year in China to be electric vehicle over the next 5 years. Now, with the bigger the pond, of course, you expect a greater quantity of fishes. And China EV has been quite a fierce arena, even for the local OEM, with more than 94 brands being offered there. That's with 300 EV models sold in China right now, with the price points varied from $7,000 all the way towards $100,000. And domestic car maker this time also stealing the show from international car maker, as we see over 80% of the EV sold in China are local brands. Therefore, I will coin the China market right now as quite extending and exciting tracks or racing car with multiple world-class racer competing on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, Chinese companies are emerging as leaders in the EVs production, also for the rest of the world, including Europe. And indeed, the European Commission recently launched an investigation into whether to impose punitive tariffs to protect European producers against cheaper Chinese electric cars. What do you think will happen, and what will the consequences be in your view?
Yeah, definitely the Europe anti-subsidy probe coming at quite a bad timing of kind of like a bummer after the excitement we see with China electric vehicle presence at the Munich Auto Show earlier this month. However, my thinking is that such process probably going to delay the adoption, but not really preventing the adoption of Chinese electric vehicle in Europe. At the end of the day, the EV adoption in Europe is still far from satisfactory against the current CO2 emission targets, while the Chinese-made vehicle is undoubtedly competitive compared to many of the global provider in terms of their product offering variety, as well as well-established supply chain. So I don't think the decision so far is going to hinder the China EV export as well, as we are seeing most of the increasing export growth this year will coming from other key markets such as ASEAN. So despite the concern and the headwind, for example, we already seen the China auto export over last month in August hitting a new record high at 370,000. So I think even in the worst case of a continued prop scenario from EU, as we see in history, sometimes the joint venture as well as the factory transplantation work could be another way to keep the business going in Europe, and kind of like a win-win situation for both parties.
All right. And as you mentioned as well, sales of electric vehicles have exploded in recent years, but there still is a quite large number of consumers who have many doubts, at least in Europe, about the autonomy of batteries or even the amount of electricity that it will be needed to serve the entire user base. Not to mention some accident that we also on television or on social media involving battery explosions, for example. What do you think of that? And what is your general outlook concerning EVs' global adoption?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, in fact, with the rapid adoption of e-mobility, the battery technology have also advances years to come. So actually, not only are we seeing like in terms of the long duration, high reliable energy storage system, as well as high density, we're also seeing some cutting edge battery technology being adopted in some of the new models that we're seeing, such as the solid state battery and the sodium ion battery. And also easier to adopt technology advancement, just like a faster charging as well as a higher energy density could help the battery tech go miles already. So the biggest question is not about whether we have the good enough battery technology, is whether they're cheap enough to be adopted in a mass-produced EV models. So I think the key right now is still the EV end demand, whether we're still seeing a sustainable EV demand going forward for battery tech adoption into the newly launched models. And probably venturing to the second part of your question about the global penetration, I think that well, for example, last year in 2022, we have only 14% of new auto sale globally that is electric vehicle, and that is compared to 1/3 of the EV penetration in China. So I think in a best case scenario where we have relatively free export and uninterrupted globalization, probably we're going to see over the next decade around 50% per EV penetration, just in line with our estimate with the China EV penetration in over the next 5 years. However, probably in a bear case, that if we're seeing more deglobalized scenario, then maybe we can only see about 25 to 30% of EV penetration in the end case.
Very interesting. And finally, what is the best way for investors to take position on the e-mobility electric vehicles trend in your view?
Yeah, definitely. That's the key question also as an investor. So one unique thing I think we witnessed during the EV era is that it's relatively easy to entry compared to the ICE or the traditional car era. Hardware engine, which define winner in the era of internal combustion engine, is not no longer the deal breaker in the EV era. Therefore, with so many new entrants, winners have to be superior both in terms of their quality as well as their, I would say, price competitiveness when it comes to multiple rounds of price reduction, as we're seeing from starting from Tesla price cuts this year. Therefore, the winner have to be brainy or digitalized enough as well as price competitive. So when it comes to positioning in EV stock or EV company, we probably will put sustainable cash flow and profitability as a starting filter or kind of like a deal breaker to actually invest into this company or not. And second, they have to have adequate software advancement to ensure it's still attractive in a time of rapid adoption of both car IoT, as well as a high-level autopilot. So probably one way to coin them, they have to be brainy as well as affordable.
Perfect. Thanks a lot to Wendy Chen. For Morningstar, I'm Valerio Baselli. Thanks for watching.